Are you in fashion?
In fashion.
So you care about what you wear?
Oh, I don't go over the top.
What is fashion?
Really no idea. Good clothes.
It's a statement.
Mind flavors.
And it's an attitude.
It's an attitude.
My heels are killing me. They're killing me. Like, they're actually killing me. Hello, we're back for another season of My Heels Are Killing Me. I'm your host and producer, Sonia Sly. This season of Heels offers a broader look at fashion, from iconic garments to... I won't give away too much. Firstly, an intrepid journey in search of a secret garden. A little pathway, hopefully, to Truby King House. I'm actually a bit lost though. I went down the beaten path to a house that looked a little haunted. It was scary, making my way back down in a bit of a hurry to finally find photographer David James.
David?
Phew.
Hey, how are you doing? Hi, how are you going?
How's it going? It's good to see you. Shiver. They were shooting this hydrangea.
David is mid-shoot for Wellington Woman Mag, where he's shooting two rising stars in front of an incredible hydrangea wall that I swear I want to sneak away with. It's stunning. Now, when you see an image in a magazine, there's usually a team of people behind it. Well, there's probably always a team, including hair and makeup and a stylist. In this case, the stylist is Nicola Provost.
Yeah, what's the theme behind it?
Well, as we walked here on Monday, Lauren was talking to me about a secret garden, and I think it is really like a secret garden here. And with the clothes, obviously not making them look like they're in the Victorian era in the secret garden, and making them look like beautiful, modern, young, amazing women. So the orange dress is Zimmerman from Coco, and the jumpsuit is from Good as Gold.
So does like quite a lot of prep take place like in the lead up to doing a shoot?
Yeah, totally. And I think this one in particular, having two people to dress, normally it's just one person, and it's quite easy just to have one person for the cover, and you know that that's going to look great. But having the combination of two people, both of the outfits have to go together. And
Is it quite different dressing like real bodies rather than models?
yeah, totally. Even though they are real bodies, they're still tiny, gorgeous girls, so it's still easy. It was fun dressing these two, actually.
Is there a kind of particular brief that Wellington Women, like the aesthetic that you kind of like to have in a shoot? Or
Each shoot is completely different, and I guess it depends on who is on the cover. So we've just shot the fashion editorial, and the brief is back to work, so that obviously is a completely different brief to what we're doing today.
are there always brands that you have in mind that you want to push? Is it really about that or not so much? Or is it about telling the story more than...
Yeah, I never ever think in my head before I go out and select the clothes what I want, because you never know what stores are going to have and what colours are in. And I definitely go with my gut, and walking into a store, if I love it, I want to put it in the magazine. And there's always particular designers that need to be used in the magazine as well, and particular stores that I will have to go to. But it's good. It's good to be able to support local stores and local brands as well.
Do you think that there is a Wellington aesthetic or not so much? Like, because, you know, Dunedin has its own vibe and so does Auckland.
I work for Zambezi, and travelling with Zambezi and seeing what's going on internationally as well, I get so much inspiration from what is going on internationally. It's cool to bring things like that back to Wellington. I don't want it to be like this is how Wellingtonians should dress or this is Wellington. It's like you want to challenge people a little bit.
And for this shoot, all eyes are on the two rising stars of the big screen. Talented young actors Edna James from feature film The Changeover.
In terms of photo shoots, this is the first thing in this style that I've ever done.
And Thomasin Harcourt Mackenzie, who's just come back from the Sundance Festival for her lead role in American film Leave No Trace.
I love this photo shoot today because it's in nature and outside.
But while these young actresses are used to having all eyes on them during filming, being styled for a photo shoot feels a little bit more alien.
When doing photo shoots even on set, like I guess I'm used to being in character, so I think it's a bit more of a vulnerable feeling doing this because you're doing it as yourself.
Yeah.
So you're definitely a bit more vulnerable and you're aware of yourself, but I mean, amazing new fun experiences nonetheless.
We find it easy to be other people, but once you're yourself, you're like, oh, how do I act? So how do I display myself in front of the world when I'm like actually myself?
I find even, you know, in watching, you know, stuff that I've been in, I can find it easy to watch myself because I'm watching a character, but then when you see behind the scenes things and how we act as people, I think it's a bit more self-conscious because you're just yourself, and this is definitely in this situation. You know, I was asked to walk earlier and I was like, oh, I forgot how to do it. I don't know how to walk anymore.
But even if you're walking down like the red carpet, do you feel like you're walking down there as you or as a character?
Definitely as me. Oh, you know, walking down a red carpet and then seeing photographers and people saying, over here, over here. It's...
Put your chin up.
Yeah, definitely.
Really, they yell that out.
Yeah, chin up.
Yeah. I see it.
Has it made you kind of more conscious of fashion, or were you sort of interested in it before, or like of your image and what you project?
You really have to pay more attention to how you display yourself and how you want to be seen and what kind of person or character you want to be yourself. A lot of that is thinking about what makeup you wear and what clothes you wear.
And what designers you choose to wear, you know, making conscious choices, even supporting specifically New Zealand designers if you're international or something like that. And
when I was at Sundance, me and Mum chose to wear Karen Walker, who's a New Zealand designer. Yeah, and also I wore an awesome T-shirt that said "Strong Female Character" on the front, which was made by an awesome lady called Amanda Billing, I think.
They got lots of media attention.
Yeah, it really did, and it fitted the theme of just what's going on now with, you know, women equality and all that stuff.
A break from the shoot, and it's time to speak to photographer David James about living and working in New York, which he did for a bit, the commerce of fashion, and why he's so vocal on set.
I like this. It's great. Perfect.
Yeah.
What's it about?
I think it helps because I always think that if I act like a silly mate, then people will relax, I find. If I give joy, I tend to get joy back. Seems like a natural law, really, eh? It's just, I suppose when I'm looking at the back of the camera and I see something, it surprises me as well. I go, really? Whoa, that's amazing. I love it, you know, and I do. I love the surprises I get because the camera sees things very differently, you know, to, like, I can make my best guess and, like, rock up there, take a photo, and then I'm always surprised. Getting the surprises from the people as well, the reactions. It's usually those bits in between when they're posing and focusing on themselves, and then all of a sudden they'll like go to scratch themselves or like pull their t-shirt or something like that, and it'll be like, boom, there it is.
It just works.
Yeah, it just works.
You see a glimpse of them in their real kind of state.
And that's really important to me, and I think that's why it takes a lot as well, because like I'm snapping a lot, because by the time, you know, I've gotten that shot, we've taken a lot, and they're just totally like, it's become mundane, or like, and they can be themselves in front of the camera. Yeah.
Look at that. That is awesome.
Now, according to David, he was terrible at school and went back to study at university at the age of 27 and loved it. It also meant he was the old guy sitting in the front asking all the annoying questions. FYI, David has a PhD in cognitive psychology, and I'm not sure if that has in any way fed into his imagery, but the thought I do have in mind is, you know, sometimes I look at photographs and I think, I wish I could see through that person's eyes. And I just kind of wonder then, so do you become immersed in that world in the moment when you're taking a photo of this kind of like imagined world? Like, because you're basically having to set the scene right. I mean, obviously stylists are there and stuff, but do you almost see yourself as, are you the voyeur, or do you see yourself as almost like a character that's kind of looking in a particular...
I don't think there's any kind of like real objective viewpoint at all. Like my imagination definitely colours, perfumes the photos in a lot of ways, definitely. But light plays a huge role in that. Light and colour tells stories.
You know, because like you can look at an image and sometimes you just feel nothing. When I look at your photos, I always feel something.
All of that stuff is like energy. I'd like to attract people's attention, the subject or whatever. You kind of want to get to know them like instantly. Like it's kind of like telling a story, getting that emotion across, and having a little bit of genuineness to it, so it doesn't feel like it's posy.
Did you fall into fashion? Was it conscious?
The photographers that I really liked had started off doing musicians, and one that I can really name that was a big influence on me early on was Jürgen Teller.
The German photographer, known as one of the key figures who's redefined fashion photography over the better part of the past 3 decades. His imagery is confronting, raw, and in short, makes you question what you see.
I find it really difficult to, it takes me a long time to figure out what to photograph. I photograph very little. It's like a writer's block, You have to just let life be. And once you have it, boom, nail it down.
Right. For David, discovering Teller's work was life-changing, and capturing people is what he does best.
It was a real creative expression there, and it took me to another place, and it told a story. I got a sense of freedom from seeing his images that I'd never really sort of felt before, and I wanted that for me too. So I started shooting bands and
The gritty, it's a little bit more, it's kind of
Yeah.
fueled with sort of sex and emotion and crazy parties and stuff like that. Your photography, even like the most beautiful kind of wedding images, have a touch of that rock and roll vibe.
It totally does.
Yeah.
Well, I like looking at that grit. It changed me slightly because music, you stand up on stage and you blast people with your music. It's kind of a really pretentious act. It's much more self-centered in a way, whereas photography, you're kind of giving something to somebody. If they see a photograph and they look great and it's your efforts, it's sort of like there's been this collaboration involved where they're like, oh man, I look awesome in that photo. People are just attracted to the human face.
Not just
Yeah.
the beautiful human face?
Not
or-
just a beautiful human face, and I guess that's why I never really got into architecture or still life or something like that. It was just because I just love people, and I love interacting with people and getting something from them that they wouldn't normally get before. And I think I love coming away from a shoot and like, especially with say a new face or someone who hasn't been in front of a camera before and going, wow, that was an experience. I didn't expect it to happen, and I really get a buzz from that.
You moved to New York.
Yeah.
Was that about pursuing a career in fashion photography?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I had really lofty ideas about what was going to happen there, and I think...
And a bit of an ego too?
Oh, absolutely.
Don't you need that in order to kind of
absolutely.
take those big risks?
Absolutely. I think, yeah, you have to really like that sense of adventure. Just feeling the fear and doing it anyway kind of thing. I get a buzz from it.
So how did then your energy translate when you got to New York? Was it about, I've arrived, I'm on fire, hire me, and, and getting loads of work? What was the reaction?
When I got there, like, I thought I was doing all right, and I had a bit of a profile going in New Zealand and then going to New York. But when I got there, you're at the bottom of the bottom. Nobody cares about you, and there are a million other people trying to do the same thing as you. So I would go to agencies. I don't think I was really myself because I felt there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear that went with that, and I felt quite lost when I first got to New York. It was hard to orient myself. I felt a lack of power in a way because the city is just such a monster. You have to, I think there's that word again, surrender to the energy that is there. You can't change things. You just have to almost rock up and hope and pray it happens for you.
I mean, I hear that in New York, that is the that is the vibe. Like, people love someone who's willing to just give it a go and put in the hard yards.
Straight away, I started testing. I wasn't getting any money for it, but at least I had I think I was getting 3 or 4 tests a day.
Which means test it and model shoots.
Yeah, it was a model shoot for their books. During that first year, I think I developed a style, sort of pushed my style a little bit further. I was shooting in different lighting situations. This was in Brooklyn and Manhattan. I just had to, the model has to be there at this time, midday, harsh sunlight. So I had to really adapt, and I learned a lot from doing that. I also learned a lot about the commerce of fashion and the commerce, if the photos aren't good and they can't be used, then what's the point, if they
because
can't
you don't get paid for the photos if they can't be used.
Yeah, pretty much. And I won't be used again, So there was that pressure as well.
I mean, it's not like you're given a roll of film and once you've used the 3 rolls, you're out. I mean, how many photos would you be taking at any one time? And if they didn't use... Really?
Yeah, lots. I guess it's just about the style. I rocked up there with my own kind of thing, and there was a very particular style that was going on at the time.
What was the
I don't
style?
know. It's very clean. They call it that Rembrandt look, there's this nice soft shadows on the face and under the eyes, whereas mine's really poppy, high-key, kind of a bit gritty. The commerce of fashion is quite interesting. While I could do whatever I wanted, the models were turning up and I would just shoot them, and then they'd go to another photographer and do the same thing. Out of that, they'd probably get, 1 or 2 images that they can use. So I could do whatever I want. The creative scope was there, but at the same time, if I wanted to get noticed and I wanted more work, I definitely felt I had to constrain what I was doing.
And then feeling like it wasn't your style?
Yeah. And what I've realised now is if I went back and did it, I would have stuck to my guns and I would have stuck to my instinct. That first year, it was really hard.
Because I would have to say that your aesthetic is hot right now. The 90s kind of feel coming back, and
it's totally 90s.
It's kind of exploded.
Cool to see that, because I think it was sort of like leaving a few years ago and it's sort of come back again. I think people want something a bit more real, less retouching. Yeah, they want to see some pores, smiles and tears and messy hair, and it's cool. People are attracted to those images a lot more, because otherwise I think in a really image-soaked world, everything looks banal. You know, it's hard to get people's attention now.
There's too much noise.
Too much noise, Instagram, everything.
The thing to note is back when David first began taking photos, Instagram wasn't a thing. Can you imagine? There wasn't the same immediacy where the idea of sharing images can help a creative like David to grow his audience. So what does David see as the upsides and downsides of the digital world?
The Instagram stuff, there are certain styles, and I think as a photographer you look at like the colours that are being used, these presets out there for Lightroom and colour grading techniques that you can apply to your images to kind of get that hip Instagram look. I think there's a lot more pressure to conform to certain styles, even though there's a broad range of styles. Depending on the client that you're focusing on, they just want this kind of look, and it changes really quickly. I think Instagram's great, like for photographers. What I found when I first started doing the social media kind of side of things was that you put it on your Facebook page, and then there was much more comments and interaction that way. Whereas Instagram is very much for photographers, which I love. I love scrolling through my feed and getting inspiration, and then other times I see an amazing photo and I go green with envy over it. And I go, those bastards, how did they do that? Sometimes it's like some 19-year-old person who's got this great camera and they've just managed to capture the shot. I think that's the cool thing about Instagram, is that you're seeing people from all ages, all backgrounds, contributing to this kind of image pool.
There is no escaping it now, is there?
No, there isn't.
You know, like even in terms of like with what's happening in the fashion industry and you know, designers almost like applying handcrafted techniques to give something a more individual sort of like personal feel. Do you think that there is a little touch of that, you know, kind of like say either going back to older cameras to do a shoot?
Oh, yeah. The vintage thing, someone said to me, it's the search for imperfection, because we take photos with digital, like these really huge big files, and they're beautiful, crisp, sharp images, and you can play with the color and stuff like that. People are pulling back and going, you know, muted tones, desaturated, blurry, you know, pull back, you know, to make it look like an old kind of Polaroid or something like that. So there's this kind of trend of turning digital into kind of Polaroid images. A lot of my images, like I love that nostalgia, and I think it's memories of me looking through my childhood, looking through those old photos that are all yellow and faded, and there was something really magical about that. It was kind of like a visual archaeology, an exploration of somebody else's world through photos, and there's something beautiful about those prints that came from using film. It's funny because like sometimes I'll be like taking some photos of locations on my phone, or I'll take a photo of my phone and I go, oh my god, that photo's great, how do I emulate that in my camera? And then I try and it's like, it doesn't look as good.
New phones have great cameras now, and in some cases they're taking professionals out of the running for jobs at events like Fashion Week. So how does David feel about that?
I always wonder whether or not, I hope anyway, that people still want some kind of artistic vision brought into the images, and then they hire you for that, to see the world in a different way and get high quality images from an eye that has some imagination.
I was reading a story about Mario Testino, you know, having won a Lifetime Achievement Award, and one thing that he has said that has kept him in the game is the whole idea of like reinventing himself through his work. Do you feel like that's kind of relevant? You know, it's that thing, do you stick to your aesthetic, or is it about being adaptable to a changing market? Or
the gauge for me is that when I'm not excited about the working, then I start to worry. And I think that's in a way like my gut telling me that you've got to change your angle here, or at least look at the world slightly differently to get that passion again. And without that, then there's nothing. And that has happened before when I have compromised and tried to go with some trends.
What trends would they have been?
I don't know. There are certain... I'll try out different things. Oh, that photographer's really big and he does it like this, and it's just like, I should have just stuck with my gut. there's not that little wee sparkle.
It's all about the sparkle.
It's all about the sparkle. And when I shoot, first it's sort of like, it's almost like a conversation. And then all of a sudden it just flows and I'm in there and I feel very much in the stream of life. I do.
Very philosophical.
I do.
Really?
I do. Yeah. But
that was photographer David James, and I'm Sonia Sly, presenter and producer of My Heels Are Killing Me. And thanks to Mark Chesterman for post-production.